All right, guys. Well, kind of want to do a two-pronged recap here. Obviously, we're at RIA 2025, midway through the last day, and a little bit of head, heart, and boots talk, a little bit of floodlight talk, but just kind of wanted to kick off. Obviously, they announced some board members, and there was some returning board members. I know some of you guys, you may have seen that, you may not, right? So just kind of wanted to gather your feedback on those individuals. If there's anybody you have any relationships with that you're excited to see joining the board here at RIA and continue to lead the charge. You got some thoughts, Brennan?
Yeah, I got some immediate thoughts. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the board is just creating a bunch of really new momentum and energy, which is exciting. I mean, we've had the ability to, be at some of the regional events, see what Mark and Springer and the team are doing, obviously following along with Ed Cross and the AGA side of the fence. There's just a lot of really cool stuff happening in the RIA that gives me a ton of motivation that there's real affecting change coming down the pipeline. And I think that's exciting. Obviously, we're a big fan of Guarantee, big fan of Darcy. Darcy continuing to be a representative on that board is really powerful. I just think she's really keyed in on just like this kind of bigger format company culture and what are we doing to really create a thriving organization. And when that kind of influence is on the team, I mean, we can't all help but benefit from it. So not a ton of deep experience with that group yet, but kind of knee-jerk response. I'm excited about the energy that's coming into the team. Yeah, for sure.
Anything to add to that, Chris?
I wasn't as connected to the brand new members that are coming on, but I recently had a chance to meet David Ness from Jenkins. And I think for me, just the overall theme is the caliber and quality of the board and the leaders that are stepping up and just how much time commitment like they're giving to this. Right. I mean, we've talked several times with Jeff Moore. I mean, and I think it's pretty self-evident. People see Jeff Moore on the socials and it's like a huge percentage of his time is spent, even in the comments about ATI, he somehow ties in the value of RIA and where the industry's growing and everything else. So it's exciting. They're passionate. These are very capable professionals.
Yeah.
And all aligned around a mission here. It's cool. It feels like there's some real momentum.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
right on. Well, I want to shift and talk technology a little bit. I know that's something we all get excited about being on the expo floor, and AI has been a hot topic for the last 12 months, right? Like, is there anything you guys saw on the technology front that gets you guys excited about what restorers are going to have access to in the next year?
Oh, man, it's funny. So here's kind of a generic thought here is I'm excited to see how kind of just across the board, how many restorers are here to learn specifically about what's available right now. What can we begin rethinking about adoption and bringing into the systems? So I don't think I'm in a position to say specifics about any one brand or tech, but I think the thing that like overarching like story for me is every time we've sat down with people, a core element of the conversation since we've been here is, hey, we're exploring X. This is how we want to partner it with what's happening, in the organization. And here's how we think that this is going to help us leverage for scale and stuff like that. So I think in general, there's just a really fun maturing happening where the sophistication level of most restorers is really beginning to ramp up. And there's a general excitement about it versus a fear. And so I think that's my takeaway this year so far. And to me, that's super motivating. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. The themes that are coming up for me are automation and transparency, right? It seems like a lot of the solutions that we see coming, we were talking with the folks at Clean Claims earlier during our time here. And that's a big part of their mission is how do we make this whole mitigation process more transparent so that we can get on the same side of the table, essentially, with what the carriers want. What everybody else wants is they want transparency. They want to know that when we give them an invoice, that it's justified, right? There's work behind that legitimizes that invoice. And I think that's going to be a key theme. And we hear a lot of the technology folks in this space talking about that. Automation too, and then AI in the mix is this mystery sauce that we don't know exactly what it's going to do. It feels like the AI right now, the big application is on the estimatic side, right? That, with what some of the new products that Verisk is coming out with, and of course, Actionable Insights with their profile is already starting to level up the new and inexperienced estimators. which is pretty profound, right? To get somebody who's experienced, one, you got to find them. Everybody is looking for really experienced estimators. So the ability for new and younger restorers who don't have the bankroll, they don't have the cash flow to be able to bring on some of these super experienced folks, to be able to level up or get close to that level of competency with AI, it's profound. And I think we're going to continue to see training solutions. And it's not even really training, right? AI, it's almost like it augments somebody's current level of skill and intelligence.
Yeah.
Outside of training. So it's very exciting. I think too, the one thing that's missing here that I'm just so excited, like when are we going to see this at the next RIA, is robotics.
Yeah.
People are starting to talk about it more and more. Like, what's this going to look like? I mean, imagine if you had a bipedal robot that had a Quetzal attachment, and you've got a robot that doesn't complain, doesn't have allergies, doesn't have, like all the things, right? They just have an exchangeable battery, and to be able to go in, do all the flood cuts, carry. I mean, so that's to me. I'm every year, every single conference I go to, I'm just waiting for the emergent robotics, because we know it's coming, right?
Now I got to push on you guys a little bit. Floodlight Consulting Group. People want to know. I think people want to know. You know what I mean? What you guys think, and so. While this isn't sponsored, is there any one particular piece of tech that you guys have either heard about since being at the conference, or even that maybe you're hearing about in your client relationships? Anything that you're looking at that you're, maybe it's not even necessarily promotional about, but you have your eye on? Like, what do you see coming around the corner that you're paying attention to?
On tech, did you say?
On tech, yeah.
Man, I always feel guilty saying some of these names, right? Because I don't want it to be like a false sense of like endorsement. It's our own. I think you set the stage. Just our own curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, what is that going to do? What does that mean? And we just got introduced to a brand new name, and I think that this is actually the first time they've been at the RIA event or an industry event at all. And that was it started with a P.
Distance.
Yeah, not a P. Distance. So limited exposure. Don't know much about it, but AI agents, and it's getting involved with your call intake, inbound DMs, inbound emails, and it's this consistent way to gather that information and always respond to the first call, the first ring, the first message. And that is really interesting to me. We don't know anything about it. I'm not endorsing. It's just this is going to be very interesting to watch how quickly AI gets introduced into the client onboarding and accepting and engaging in that initial outreach. So that one I've got my eyes on. I just think it's really curious. I think that could be a real powerful asset. We talk a lot about like just the value. We spend so much time and energy and money on that first call, but then there's all these little quirks in our businesses that can create friction to where it's sometimes we miss it. Sometimes we miss the first call. How many rings do we let go by? Or when we do accept the call, there's this handoff between team members that can get clunky. And closing rates are really, really important. All of our teams want to grow their business. They want to grow their top line, and they want to spend in marketing and BD. But man, the reality of it is if we're losing half of our opportunities that come in the door, it's such a waste of resource. And so anything that I'm seeing like where tech could potentially shrink that distance and help us hone in our closing rates, you have to pay attention. So that one's top for me.
Now, Chris, you got me excited with the robotics thing, but I'm talking, what have you seen? Is there anything front of mind that you've seen that's here now that you're keeping an eye on?
No. I mean, I think I was probably most intrigued by the conversation with the Distance CEO. In the background, we've been in a conversation with a company called LiveSwitch, which Brandon and I have always been really passionate about call intake. It's something that like kind of halfway through our coming up in the industry, we were rehiring for a receptionist role, which traditionally is like this really entry-level position. And I think most of us operators and people who have been doing this for a while now, we're starting to recognize the weight and the value of that initial client intake. And so there's all of these solutions, not the least of which is this distance solution. But like LiveSwitch, what they do is they specialize in live streaming video. And essentially it creates a mechanism where as Mr. and Mrs. Jones call into my restoration company, I'm doing my normal intake with them. And then at some point in that intake call, I can say to that Mrs. Jones, hey, are you calling in on a smartphone? Right? If I send you a text message, can you click on a link? And they click on the link and it opens up a live streaming video session so that then that receptionist can direct Mrs. Jones, hey, take me to the thing that you're seeing.
Yep.
And they can have them, hey, can you move that in a little closer? I want to see that a little bit better. All of it's getting recorded and saved to the cloud.
Yeah.
And then can be plugged into that work order or that client profile in the job management system. So now the technicians, before they even load out, they can see the magnitude, severity, the location of the loss, what kind of equipment, what kind of square footage affected, all of that kind of stuff. Whereas so often we're just relying on a verbal narrative. Customers don't know what to tell us.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I think there's probably going to be more product iterations of that. But Live Switch, really interesting company. I imagine they'll be at RIA next year.
Yeah.
Something to add to that too, just really quick is, I mean, so part of what we're honing in is like this assumptive selling, right? It's like when the client calls in, we're immediately beginning to act on process and system to pull them in. And I think one of the cool things about Live Switch is if we're able to see the job site, it's no different than when I roll in for the first time and I begin kind of like selling deeper into the relationship. I can do that virtually.
You're not starting at zero.
That's right.
Because as a technician, then I can affirm Mrs. Jones, hey, sounds like I looked at the video that Sally, our front desk gal, sent me, and it sounds like we got this going on. Let's go walk over together and look at that. Yeah, here's my thought. You're coming in. And you can use your discovery questions and your interaction with customer to build relationship rather than just gathering the data of the loss. It's really cool. Really cool.
Crazy to think that probably before too long, that kind of video is potentially going to be shared with some sort of AI agent that's just going to be telling our teams very matter of fact exactly what they need to go to a a It's pretty, and I struggle to believe this is very far away, right?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it's far away at all.
Let's talk M&A.
Okay.
Claim volume's down this year. That's something that I think we're hearing quite a bit. Obviously, the extent to which it's affecting, it depends on your market and all that thing. We've seen some people thrive, but a lot of people here looking to grow through M&A. I know we're really excited to engage in one of the sessions later this afternoon about M&A. Kind of any thoughts on what's happening on that front in the industry, anything that you've learned that's new, changes that may be happening, anything at all that we want to share?
This is one of those spaces, in all honesty, like I feel like a completely out of a fish out of water. It's changing so quickly. We've had several meetings since we've been here where we're basically asking like help reorient our perspective, because restorers are still acting like and asking for and wanting. And then, obviously the platforms, the PE, they're saying, well, based on kind of economic issue, opportunity, whatever you want to call it, it's shifting their decision making. And my overall gut assumption maybe is that we've got a scenario where the buyer's perspective has already shifted. Maybe there's a little bit more sophistication in terms of that decision making, access to data and information. So it's shifting their decision making, their profile, the avatar they're looking for, and what they're willing to do. But the restorers haven't quite caught up to that message yet. And so I'm really eager today. So at 3:45 today, Mark Davis and a couple others will be talking about M&A. I am curious to see what is going to come from the stage. If there's going to be some of that where, hey, restorers, we might need to realign our expectations based on the current landscape. So without giving specifics, I'm not the person that should give that. That's what I'm seeing is I still have a story in my head. And I think the finance side is saying, nope, we can't any longer act that way. We're going to have to make some adjustments. So
Yeah, I think some of the other themes we're hearing is these private equity companies and strategics are heavily leveraging the earnout as a negotiation tool with companies. So interest rates have gone up, so cost of money is higher. So I think that's caused a little bit of a pullback on the M&A side, but people are shoring that up, or they're staying in the game by increasing the earnouts. So instead of just owners exiting and being able to walk away with their big lump of cash. They're getting a big lump of cash, but they've got to hang in the pocket because companies want to see legitimately, is what we're looking at really real? Can we justify these values? Well, they can over time, but they can't right now. Yeah. I think it's because owners, I think owners are still living off of this dream. They were seeing this dream show up in front of them the last 3, 4, 5 years of people selling for 8, 10, 12, 13 multiples. They're like, well, I want that. I deserve that. I've built this thing over 20 years, But of course, the way that the PE companies are handled, well, yeah, we'll pay you 12x, but we've got a 5-year earnout for you in order to max that out or whatever. But I think the other big theme that we're seeing and hearing is that with the reduction in claims volume that's been happening from 24, and it's continued here in Q1, we're still hearing others talk about the how mitigation claim volume is down. I think we're starting to see the thesis of these PE companies shift from predominantly wanting residential business, which has been really the predominant focus of M&A over the last 5 years, to now more and more people talking about commercial.
Yeah.
And of course, we've been evangelizing this to all of our clients. It's like, hey, you have to have a direct sales engine in your business if you want to maximize the enterprise value of your company.
Yeah.
Because more and more, I think PE companies are getting wise to the fact that they don't have as much control over the mitigation, the residential, volume, but we can go out and chase and convert commercial business. Yeah. So when claim volume is down, the companies that we saw this past year in our client portfolio succeeding were the ones that were heavily invested in a direct sales operation, because you can always go do a cold call blitz with the team and go uncover new opportunity and open new doors. Whereas we're kind of beholden to whatever's happening with the programs and the carriers and the changes in deductibles. There's a whole variety of hypotheses that people have about why claim volume is down. But what nobody's confused about is the ability to go out and connect with a chief engineer, find out what their frustrations and irritations are with other contractors they work with, solve for those things with your own systems and processes, and then secure the business, right? People do business with people that solve problems for them or save them money. Those are the two reasons why people switch. So it's a different skill set.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies have been dragging their feet. And I think what we're hearing is we just sat with just here at this table. We were meeting with another private equity investor. And I asked him, I said, has your thesis shifted at all? From predominantly MIT residential to it's like, well, maybe we're thinking more about full service. And yes, starting to think more about a better commercial residential mix. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. I think it's the future of the industry. It's the antidote to what the squeeze and the downward pressure that a lot of folks are feeling from the carriers and TPAs. That's not going to change because the TPAs they're looking for more profit, more efficiency, just like all of us are. So we're going to continue to see that train going down the tracks.
Yeah, right.
But the way we win, I think commercial is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah.
Let me present an opportunity for us to land the plane. So something that I've asked.
And then I got to go jump on a train.
That's right. That's right. We're going to land the plane. We're going to get on a train. So something that I've asked everybody is, what connections were you most excited to make here? And then I want to hear from you guys. I've also asked, where are you experiencing the most value as an RIA member as we continue to get more and more bullish on the RIA and want to continue to support the entity however we can, both as there's all these different components. There's the discounts that you have access to. There's the networking opportunities. There's the wonderful things that the AGA is doing. Yeah. Mark Springer now really being that liaison between the carriers and the RIA. There's a ton of value, but just who are you excited to connect with since we've been here, and where are you really seeing the value both for us as a vendor partner and for restores? Brandon, I'll start with you.
So, at the end of the day, I get most excited because we are a virtual team. Like our entire, we've got consultants all over the nation. Like we're used to working virtually, even internally. Our client relationships are predominantly virtual. And so this is like, we have several times a year where we're inviting the client base. We're saying, hey, we're going to be there. It'll be great to make contact with you and get some FaceTime. And so like when we come to these events, it's like we want to break bread with our clients. We want to get some FaceTime with our vendor partners who we strategically work with to like create just a really kind of top value proposition for our client book. And so this is just that time and space to like see a face. We're huggers.
Yeah.
Like anybody that meets up with us at these things, they get it. Okay, we're huggers. So it's like getting the bear hugs in on our friends and peers from the business, meeting face to face with our clients, I think is number one. I think the other thing is like we were kind of talking yesterday. One of our clients, we basically said, okay, we masterminded with him. Okay, it's like what engagement do we need to help you get? Who do we need to get you introduced to? What partners do we need to get you some FaceTime with and get some conversations started? And I think that's another thing. And I think it doesn't have to be a consulting firm doing that. Like peers are coming here and we're seeing it where so-and-so's got this connection or this network because of what they've done or where they're located. And they see something of high value and they're taking their peer and they're saying, hey, peer, come with me. Let me go introduce you to X. And at the end of the day, like we all know this system, strategy, process. Yes, it's critical. But man, so much of how we win is in relationship. And if you don't get outside of your business and you don't come and see what's happening around you, there's two things that happen. Isolationism makes you continue to tell yourself a false story that everyone's out to get you and every man for himself. And it's not true. Like, yes, I think there are immature, less sophisticated business owners that act that way. Dude, we walk around this place. I could sit down with anybody and have a conversation. In general, the membership of RIA are people that want to elevate the entire industry. So you got to be here. You got to come meet people. We, kind of keep referring to clients. We have another one. He's fairly introverted like I am. And man, he's pushing himself. Yeah. And I guarantee you he's had 3 or 4 key meetings today that will, over the last 2 days, that will change his business. Yeah. And it wasn't comfortable. It's not easy. But he understood I'm part of this group. There's an opportunity to leverage that group for the benefit of our team and myself. And he's doing it, and it's paying dividends immediately, not later, not tomorrow, right now. And I think that's the other part. It's like so much of what we talk about is strategy that will be in development. It's like you can just come here and get several golden nuggets and walk away, and on Monday put it into implementation, and it changes your company. So I think that's it. It's relationship for me. I think a lot of relationship happens here, and it's important for all of us. So.
Yeah. All right, good.
You kind of stole my thunder, bro. For me, like literally the thing that stands out in my mind is I do a lot of our front end, like our client intake. I'm kind of our main sales guy. And so I see people at RIA, I get into conversations with them. And then in some cases we end up working with them. We end up following up after the thing. But I also have a lot of people where I'll see them. I saw them last year. We had a conversation. Yeah. I see them again, and I get to see the growth and the change in their business. And I'm thinking about this one person in particular. I won't dime them out, but they were struggling this last year at RIA. And they were part of that whole Q1 where claims were way down for folks in 24. Yeah. They were suffering under that and were struggling to find a way out. And it was so awesome. I met up with them on purpose. I reached out, hey, are you going to be at RIA this year? Yes. And we just met up literally 30 minutes ago. And they went from struggling to pull in $1 million just to keep everybody paid and keep their business existing to now they're on track to do 3 or 4 this year. And they're just doing an incredible job, and they turned the corner and they put a couple fundamentals in place, and it's just so exciting to see small restorers that are making those moves and making big gains in their business. I agree with Brandon though. I think, and this isn't to say anything about the quality of the breakout sessions and stuff like that, but what I've noticed, particularly this year, is there are so many, like we have meetings right around us here where we're filming of people networking and meeting. I think there's not only is there M&A deal making that's happening, but there's deal making in the sense of people collaborating on losses, people setting out like pre-loss partner relationships. I think of Steve Glozik, FP Restoration. I mean, he's a master of those partnerships where he's at this show and he's at all the various shows. He's masterminding where's the talent, where are the capable restorers around the country, And how do we build some relationship ahead of time where if we choose and if we have the capacity, we could partner together, jump on. It's just, I think what people start to really sort of settle into when you come to conferences, and I think RIA really is the gathering place for our industry.
Yeah.
Is this whole better together.
Yeah.
That we are better together. Like the more transparent we are about the condition of our business, where we're struggling, where we're seeing opportunities, the more we can learn from one another and leverage that collective wisdom. So it's coming to these kind of things, and it's these little side conversations. Hey, do you have a commercial sales rep? Yeah. How are they doing? How much do they really bring in? Wait, whoa, how did they do?
Wow.
It's all of those sideline chats.
Exactly.
And then you add the sessions and the speakers and stuff. And that's, to me, that's the gravy of these events. It's not why you come. You come to meet people and make connections.
Yeah.
And it's happening in spades here. And it's just continuing to grow. Last year was the same. We're like, holy cow, all of the dinner conversations and after parties and hospitality suites that people have done. So it's good. Hey, we got to get on a train.